Most times it pays to keep things simple and stand back and look at the big picture. The big picture is this. When you invest your money in a place, often you're impressed by the building, the marble that's inside the building, the mirrors, the polished stainless steel, the artifacts, where it's located, how tall the building is. Then you're also impressed by the polished decor, the people in suits, how they're dressed, how they talk, and everything that's in there, the whole 9 yards. It's a big sales pitch. But you have to look at it like this. Who is actually paying for all this? I guess you would call it advertising in a way. When you look at a big building that a bank has, do they really need this big building to be of polished marble and of such high quality construction and, having the best equipment all the time? Really, when they're banking, it's all electronic banking, or unless it's in the actual safes. You could probably have an underground salt mine with safes and security for the hard assets, and a team of computer geeks that are not in such a prestigious looking building that would manage the assets electronically. Now, what I'm getting at here is that the reality of the situation is that all the salaries of the high dollar bankers, the brokers, the Series 6s, the Series 7s, the overhead, all the administration people, and everything else that's associated with, what you're looking at physically, where is that money coming from? And obviously, it's really has to be coming from the underlying asset. And if you want to look at, bankers, they want to, no matter how big they are, JP Morgan Chase wants you to invest with them. They want your money. Bank of America wants your money. I know a lot of their money and a lot of their assets is actually from, bigger investors. It's also from creating mortgages out of thin air and all this, where they're getting the interest from. But it's also that they need the small investor. The thing is, you are actually paying their fat fees. I look at it like it's, what do you really want? Do you want the asset itself, or do you want to pay the fat fees of, the bankers, the Series 6s, the Series 7s? Do you want to pay for this building? Do you want to pay for all the associated overhead costs and all the people that work in there, even the window washers and all that? Do you want to pay for all that? I say no. Why not just own the asset directly? That's one aspect to silver, but it could be an aspect to a lot of different things. It could be silver, gold, or any commodity that's tangible and durable. It could be agricultural assets, farmland. It could even be real estate, as long as the real estate is not high maintenance or the real estate is generating some kind of income. And when you're looking at what people of the greatest wealth do, that's what they invest in. Actually, they're most heavily invested in real estate that generates some kind of income. Donald Trump, right? But he's not. Rothschild's another one too. But everything is interconnected. The political system, the government, and the banking system, and the economic and financial system. But who is really footing the bill for all of this? It's us, and it's not. But when you look at this piece of paper that you have as a representation of an asset, sure, it may actually be you have stock equity, or you actually own part of a company, which is not too bad. But when you're actually thinking about commodities, though, commodities don't really generate income itself. The mining of commodities could. Sometimes they're at a loss, but they could. The activity of mining of commodities could generate, income. So you can see where they could actually pay for the management fees of all the bankers, the brokers, and everybody else that's managing, say, you investing in a paper asset such as that. But when you're investing in a paper asset that represents gold, it's like gold just sits there. So what happens with the management fees? Where are they coming from? It's got to be coming from the underlying asset. I think everything's being double counted, triple counted, and it's been a subject that's been going on for a long time. But it applies to everything. Everything. It's like the people on the top are, right now in our country, like one of the things that's a big indication that we're pretty much near the end of the rope is like all the politicians and all the people that are high up in business, they're trying to grab as much as possible, take the money and run. Look at, I don't want to even say that it's just Democratic or the Clintons or something, but, it's a pretty good example. Look at the Clinton Foundation. It's like, man, it was like the State Department was for sale, right? Take the money and run. But the problem has always been there, even if you go way back, even with the smaller middle-class banking associations, you had a lot of overhead that had to be paid for the supposed management of your assets. These were the most wealthy people in the community all the time, pretty much all the time. Even when you're looking down several layers from the New York metropolitan financial district area, you're looking down, you're going globally. These people have always been, the cream of society that are getting paid the most money to manage assets. And actually, what I look at it like this in simple common sense terms is that they are, getting their money from the underlying asset itself. And as the underlying asset is becoming dwindled down, eventually it's going to lead to a critical problem. And that's when you have, Bastille Day, right? The revolution, and everything falls apart, and you have this big reset. One of these things that people talk about, doom and gloom sometimes on the internet, and like, I don't really, but I want to give you some common sense about when you can know something. I seen videos on YouTube about, World War III and the Civil War and all this garbage. None of that stuff's going to happen until there's a major economic calamity. As long as things are relatively pretty good, and things, I know there's a lot of underlying problems, but if you look on the surface, the economy is actually doing pretty good. On its surface, most, maybe people aren't employed in the best jobs, but people are still getting money, and they're getting money from the government, so they still got cash flow. So, we don't have this revolutionary type civil strife right here on the horizon. It's going to happen after there's a major calamity in the financial markets. But no matter what politicians do to be popular, here's Tricky Dick Nixon with Elvis. To tell you the truth, this guy, I don't think he was so, I remember the deal with the Watergate and all that stuff. I never said, the Watergate was such a trivial thing compared to what's going on today. But, I tell you the truth, what I didn't like about Richard Nixon was when he did the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit. That was crazy, especially in Nevada and Arizona and states where you got to drive umpteen miles just to get go to the next gas station, for crying out loud. Or the wage and price controls, trying to fight inflation. You can't do it. It was actually, he had to take us off the gold standard and put us on the petrodollar standard, right? Remember that? And that's the system that's going on today. And, that's one of the big issues in the Middle East. I shouldn't say this because YouTube's getting it's getting scary to put anything out on YouTube today. But, the big, well, let me say it's not the only issue that's going on in the Middle East. But, one of the things with Syria is, Syria is not going to have a oil and natural gas pipeline coming out of Qatar, going through, you can get it through Iraq, but then you got to go through Syria to get up to Europe. If all that natural gas and oil was coming out of Qatar, it would be able to be sold less than what Russia's selling to Europe for, and Russia's cash flow from, hard dollars coming from exports would dwindle drastically. That's why, that's one of the big contentions going on there. So that's why Syria is being supported by Russia, because Syria is not going to allow that pipeline to go through. If that pipeline goes through, what's left of the Russian economy is going to go right down the tubes. Just want to point that out. See, these are a lot of issues going on right now. I figured I'd point that out as a Blake thing rather than make another video. But, one of the things we can do, and, I see on YouTube a lot of things where there's, I kind of agree with some of them too. There's a lot of anti-authority, anti-cop stuff out there. Now, I'm not necessarily a fan of police and stuff, but you know what? Those guys, you know, the foot soldiers that kind of represent the entrenched city councilmen and politicians and the system behind them, those are guys you want to have on your side. Not that you really want to tell them too much because, you know, they're trained to, you know, sometimes you don't know what you're dealing with. But when we have a situation when there's going to be, say, civil strife in the United States because of financial collapse, which I think is coming. I mean, I seen, you know, I don't know the guy's name. He was hidden, but he was one of the guys that was the top guys at Bank of America. He says, no matter what they pay for interest rates on Treasury notes, it doesn't matter because in 10 years, they're going to be junk. You know, that's what's going on. I mean, they're trying to keep this petrodollar system going. You know, that's one of the things I was telling you about with Syria. And we went off the gold standard in 1972 with Ricky Dick Nixon, which it wasn't his fault. It was like it had to happen, right? We're going and you know, they're not going to be able to stop stagflation. You know, commodities going to go up, energy is going to go up, agriculture is going to go up. You want to be invested directly in the commodities themselves, agricultural farmland, and things like that. Not having some broker saying, yeah, I got this piece of, you know, who's paying this guy's 6-digit salary, right? You are, right? Who's paying for all that stuff? And you want to actually invest in thrifty transportation, too, like old girl here has. I don't know if this is Vespa or something, the old school type thing, the one before the, you know, the little Hondas they got out there, because I think, you know, when silver goes up, it's actually what's going to lead the charge, which I've been saying all along, is oil. Oil is creeping up. If you notice, the gasoline prices are creeping up. There's been little upticks once in a while in silver and gold, but I'm the only guy that was a silver advocate that was also a palladium advocate. Now, I don't know about buying palladium now at this price, but I bought palladium when it was like $200 an ounce. So, and I think it's going to continue to go up as there's more and more tensions with Russia. If you look at what's going on with Syria, with the issue with the pipeline, you know, Russia doesn't want the pipeline going through there. I mean, it's not the only issue that's going on in the Middle East. There's a lot of issues, and I don't want to talk about too much controversial because, you know, it's getting scary to put out videos on YouTube. It's like, you know, it's like I'm walking through a minefield. It's like whatever was good 6 months ago is different from what was good it was a year ago. You know, a few years ago, you could pretty much say anything, right? Now it's like I don't even know. I'm afraid to say anything. But I'm trying to give you the information without going over their parameters. But, you know, the issue is that we're going to have more and more tensions with Russia. I don't want tensions with Russia. I don't want tensions with Russia. That's why I opened up that channel, American-Russian Survival, which has that word survival in it, which is, actually, I didn't realize it when I opened up that channel. Survival is a dirty word in YouTube land. It's like you want to maybe call it American-Russian prepping or something, but I call it survival. You know, I'm thinking survival of the nations. You know, it's kind of like a goodwill channel, and I just throw a little stupid stuff out there once in a while on how to do things and little tips. You know, it's kind of an overflow channel I put for this one. But I did put that out because I don't want a conflict between the United States and Russia. But as there's more and more tensions going on between the United States and Russia, which I think is going to continue, palladium's going to still go up. Now, I don't want to tell anybody to go buy palladium in the short term, because when the markets come down drastically, which I think they are going to, palladium is 95% industrial. It's going to be affected drastically by the markets. You might find an opportunity, a buying opportunity later. You know, I'm one of the few people I think I was the only one out here talking about palladium that, you know, talks about silver. You know, people were telling me I was a jerk back in 2010 and 2011 for having palladium. You know, yeah, okay, sure. Anyway, but I think the silver, like I said, silver is one of those things. It's not just an investment; it's a survival metal. You know, if you're out here in your little motorcycle or whatever, and you got that stream down there, you can go down there with a bucket, grab some of that water. You're a little suspect of what's in the water. Say for microbes, you can put some colloidal silver in it, or if you want, the water's pretty clean, you can put a silver dollar in there, and it'll preserve it longer. You can't do that with palladium. You can't do that with gold. You can't do that with platinum or copper's maybe somewhat. It's got some antimicrobial. Silver's better for it than that. So I think when the word gets out, just from prepping and medicinal reasons, everybody's going to want an ounce of silver. There's not enough of it around. I mean, not just investment reasons. I've been saying this. It's an angle that there's so many angles. These guys. I'm not a bullion dealer. I'm not a silver pumper. I just think it's a great investment. There's also types of silver that, God, I forgot the name of it. It's not sterling silver. It's not the typical sterling silver, but it's a type of silver you can put in like salt water, and it'll never tarnish. It's like got the luster of platinum. I forgot what you call it again. So I'm doing this right off the cuff of the top of my head, but it's been developed like not that long ago. It's a different type of metal that they mix with it to make like a type of sterling silver, but not the standard type. And if they did that in a jewelry world, it would be far less expensive than white gold or platinum, and it would still have the same appearance, and it would cause a lot of demand. But I'm not in charge of this deal. I mean, I'm not attached with any of these type of people. I mean, these people are brain dead, to tell you the truth. They just talk about all these graphs and garbage. I look at the overall picture. The overall picture is that you want to have the underlying asset, no matter what it is. I even look at transportation that's reliable, that doesn't have a lot of electronics on it, like these old motorcycles. That's good to have too. Good, if you ever had a situation where, roadways are blocked and you couldn't get around because, people are trying to get from here to there or something, hey, you got a motorcycle, you can scoot right through them. I had plenty of times when I was in California. Even though they got the Kelmet laws up there now, they still you can white line. I'd rather have that than, I talked about that before in other videos. I was out in California when they had no helmet laws, but helmet laws aren't really what bothers me the most about riding a motorcycle. I like the ability to white line, where you can pull to the front of the traffic when there's a whole bunch of traffic in front of you. The helmet don't bother me much because I always wear one just as a bug shield only for one. But, if you're ever in a situation where, let's not call it a survival situation because that's a dirty word on YouTube land, a prepping situation, emergency situation, you got to get to point A to point B, this is another good investment. As long as it's not, not too many electronics on it, the old school bikes, something simple, even a one-cylinder or something. And also, when we're talking about hard assets, you can see the push that's going on right now to disarm America. Not very successful, but they're doing it in a lot of other ways with, psychology, psychiatry, red flag, where they got all these new laws coming out because they're trying to say, like, the government can come take your guns before a crime is committed. Well, you ever hear about that? That's some new thing out there. But actually, guns is like the hard asset. Freedom is like, an abstract. A socialist is simply a communist who doesn't have the power to take everything you own at gunpoint yet. Because, we have, the backstop to, retain our wealth and well-being and in our domicile and all that type of stuff, right? So that's another thing where words on a piece of paper, just like representations of assets on a piece of paper, words on a piece of paper that guarantee your freedoms don't mean anything unless you have the means to back that up where you can protect yourself, right? Same kind of deal. Same with assets that are represented on a piece of paper. That, well, are they there or aren't they there? Now, obviously, in the real world right now, as we speak, you can transfer money on, from your bank to one bank account to another bank. You can buy hard assets with, digital currency. I'm not just talking Bitcoin, but digital currency like U.S. dollars represented in digital currency electronically. It all works, right? But when it all comes down, which you really, it really comes down to it, you want to have the hard assets. Silver's got some real practical value, though, and that's where it stands heads and shoulders above everything else. I still think Palladium's going to go up a lot from where it is right now, but I also think there's a major danger in investing in Palladium right now. I could be wrong about this, but I'm assuming that the market's going to readjust sometime during the Trump administration because they want this guy out of there in 2020, right? They're going to readjust, and it's been on a long bull run too in the equities. What's going to happen is Palladium's going to drop like a stone because it's 95% industrial. Then you might find a good buying opportunity. So, anyway, just want to put it out to you that the reality is, you want to invest in real. The reality is you want to invest in real. Real is the hard asset itself, not a representation of it. That's what it comes down to, simple 101. The only thing that protects your money is the real assets. The only thing that protects your freedom is not your right to self-defense, but actually the means in your hands to self-defense. When I talk about, I guess Bernie isn't that bad in some ways, I'd take Bernie over Hillary in a million years, man. But you know what I mean? You know what I mean, right? And all the stuff they tell you on the top, it's a big show, I mean, Nixon, Clinton, Reagan, Carter. Carter probably was one of the best ones going. Trump, I'm not sure about Trump. Trump is kind of like, he's a wheeler dealer, and I know he told us a lot of stuff during the election that I thought was a little way over the top, and, he was told to say that. And I think he's a lot more legit in a lot of ways than anybody else before him, but I think they got to him. They got to him. You can see what's been going on. So, USA is kind of like what the Chinese said about the USA. It's kind of, right now, it's more like a paper tiger. It's like there's been so many generations since 1775 now that people don't even understand what the hell the United States was formed about. They're just thinking about how much money they have and all this other stuff. So don't expect it to last, despite it looking very good on the exterior. So keep the hard assets. That's the only thing that you really have for a solid investment.